most secure location that we could find in the building. You notice we have plenty of security down here.
There's a degree of excitement around electric vehicles we hadn't seen before.
But somebody's got to be the first one out there.
We need a lot of people trying a lot of different things, and then we see what emerges.
It's a race. It's a total race.
Until we see every car on the road being electric, we will not stop.
Hi, I'm Adam Donaldson for Press Plus One. I'm here at the green carpet for the Planet in Focus Film Festival, and we're going to be talking to some of the guests here for the opening night gala, Revenge of the Electric Car.
You didn't get the message. Give us the cars that we want.
I got the flood of emails saying, you sold out to the oil companies and you've killed my grandchildren. I hope you rot in hell.
Your first film, Who Killed the Electric Car, to this film, what have you found the difference in perhaps people's attitudes towards the electric car industry and advocacy for that?
Well, I think a lot of people took notice of electric cars when gasoline prices started going up, and it's like, holy moly, $100 to fill up my pickup truck or whatever. And they went, maybe this electric, I should check it out. And I think the car makers got that message too, and they go, maybe we should have something to sell besides gasoline cars. So this has been really great for electric cars, and I think that if people go out right now and check out the ones that are coming on the market in the next year, this could be the moment. So that's kind of why we made our movie.
And also considering, it is an ongoing story developing these new modes of transportation. So what made this the moment you said, you know what, it's a perfect time for a sequel?
Well, my dad always said, the most important thing is to be prepared and be a good opportunist. And we finished the first film, and we had a lot of contacts we had made because of Who Killed the Electric Car. And I wasn't going to make another electric car film, that's for sure. But I suddenly, wow, this is like one of those times when the whole industry is about to change, and we could be the filmmakers that film that. So that's when we started.
How did you first start the idea of converting cars to electric?
It's something that I've been doing since 2004. I started with a motorcycle, and as soon as I was done with the motorcycle, I thought, well, I should do it to a car. And that's when I realized there's an industry there. There are parts that are needed. Someone needs to go in that direction. So that's what I've been doing ever since. And now I'm actually at that point where I think I've got the recipe to convert cars.
I believe your story in the film has to do with you trying to convert a muscle car to electric. Is that right?
It's actually a Porsche Speedster, but I have done muscle cars as well.
It's so kind of antithetical, the idea of electric in a muscle car. What's kind of the reaction when you start talking about an electric muscle car?
Well, some of my first ones were incredibly fast, and it's very funny when you're in this teeny tiny English car and you're next to like a $65,000 car and you blow them away and they don't know what happened.
We've had 2 elections this year. Hasn't been a lot of talk about the environment in either of those elections, so what can we do to help change that?
Well, the result in the Ontario election was good for the environment. The Green Energy Act is probably the single most innovative piece of legislation in Ontario in a couple of decades. But you're right, people, it's not top of mind. And I think what is one of the reasons I'm at Planet in Focus. Part of it is we have to tell the stories. We have to tell the stories of what's possible. We have to tell the stories of the risks affecting the planet. And people get it. They get it in their hearts. They just want to know that their neighbor's going to have a job while they clean up the planet. And I think there's no question that we can do that. People just need to know it and understand it. And if we can get that message out, then we're going to succeed.
Can you talk a little about perhaps reaching an audience with these films? Because I was talking to the former Mayor David Miller about how in the last couple elections, environment issues haven't gotten a lot of play. So how do you try and make sure you're not just preaching to the choir, but reaching people who may not have engaged in with these issues before?
Well, I guess you try and make good stories. I guess you try to make a compelling movie, and you hope that it will appeal to people for all the reasons that any other movie would, because it's well structured, because it's got good music, because it's got beautiful shots, etc. Documentary, which is all I do, is a limited world. Lots of people prefer the escapism of drama. Sometimes they want to come back to documentary. In our case, what's interesting is that the mainstream media has really abandoned the story. So that's left the field open for, a lot of the real journalism's being done in documentary.
They have based their whole company strategy on it. If it fails, there might not be a Nissan.
You need to predict the future, prepare for it. If it happens, we'll be ready.
These are people who are not going to wait around to have the solution delivered to them.
I want to show the world that it's really possible.
This is the future, and it's attainable.
I think today more people see documentaries than ever before. It's true that more people go see Harry Potter, and I went to see it, and I actually kind of liked Harry Potter better than my last film in some ways. More exciting in places. But at the end of the day, after we have all that fun at the movies, a lot of people go, what are you going to watch tonight? And people are going to documentaries because they're not getting it from the news. They're not getting it from mainstream media. So kind of a renaissance.
What is it about environmental issues and other things along with the environment that makes such compelling subject matter for you?
The great stories. I was reflecting on the first one that I ever covered, which was the Love Canal, which begins with mutant children. There were kids there that were born with double sets of ears and double teeth. So, so they're great stories. There's innocent victims, there's, typically evil perpetrators, there's complex, ironic situations. So they really are just great narratives.
There were a lot of surprises in the first film, like even just like going up to the final fate of those cars and what happened to them. Can you tease maybe a couple of surprises you found in making this movie?
Well, it'll be hard to ever beat the surprise we had of finding the car company, GM, crushing their own cars in the desert. That was like a gotcha moment that you don't get very often as a filmmaker. This time we said, okay, well, what do we have? And we have incredibly strong characters, and we have kind of a revolution happening from within. So let's pick the strongest characters, follow them for 3 years, and see what happens. And by luck, we ran into the recession, and our General Motors went bankrupt, and the startup company Tesla ran out of money, and it's like, oh my God, I think we have a film here. So that's it is for documentaries. You're kind of like working on a monster, and you don't know what monster you're going to get.
And for people who are coming to see the movie tonight, what are you hoping that they walk away with in terms of their thoughts about the EV revolution and electric cars and all that stuff?
What I want people to see is that it really is possible, and it is here now. I think people just need to do their homework and see that electric cars they're back, and they're here to stay.
And this is the 12th anniversary of Planet and Focus Film Festival. So what makes Toronto so open to an environmental film festival that we've got 12 years of it?
Well, there's two things that make Planet and Focus successful in Toronto. The first thing is that we're a city of film festivals. I can't even give you a number because it changes every day. There's a new film festival. It's well over 60, may even be over 70 by now. It's extraordinary. There's a new film festival every week. And the second thing is Torontonians are environmentalists. People forget, but the first conference on a changing climate was held here. The next year it was in Kyoto. The first one was in Toronto, so if they'd reached agreement in Toronto, Canada would be violating the Toronto Accord instead of the Kyoto Accord. But we have a long tradition of environmentalism, and when I brought environmental issues to council, they almost always passed unanimously, perhaps with one vote opposed, but we won't talk about that guy. And I think it just spoke. Torontonians have really strong environmental values, so Planet and Focus works here. We're a place that makes great films, that presents great films, and we're environmentalists.